I've been to myself, just me lately. I don't need a lot. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hey you guys, Shanice here. Thank you for stopping by my channel. So today we're going to be talking about something that's asked all the time. And I said, you know what? I need to make a video for it. So this video is for people who have thick hair and is showing how to have the flattest braiding pattern. Now there's different options that you can try, and then there's common mistakes that we're definitely going to go over. So get out a pen and paper and let's get into it. So first you have to ask the question if you or your client, if they are heat free. If they don't like heat in their hair, then there's going to have to be like a 2-day workaround here, because you can stretch the hair without heat, of course. A lot of you already know that if you wash your hair and then put it in like 6 or so plaits all over your hair and then let it air dry, then it's going to stretch the hair out. And then you can, you're free to do the crochet install the next day. But for this one, this client, she does not mind heat on her hair. And as you're going to see in a minute, like I am spraying leave-in conditioner on it, a heat protectant, and then I'm also putting some oils on it to make sure that there's no kind of heat damage when I do straighten out her hair. Now, I just blow it out. I don't use flat irons or anything like that. And you just want it just semi blown out. You know what I'm saying? Not like you're going in to do a silk press or anything like that, but just enough to where we can flatten out the hair a bit more and the braids won't be as thick. Now, she's a bit tender-headed, and I find that vitamin E oil helps so much when it comes to detangling the hair. Only pure vitamin E oil, not the stuff you're going to be the supply store that has mineral oil and all other kind of stuff in it. Just plain vitamin E oil. It does wonders for detangling for me. So it's not that hard to detangle. So that's what we're going to do first. We've split the hair in fours, and now we're just going to go through and detangle the hair. And now we're going to take the dryer and just blow the hair out just to make it a bit easier and less painful for the client, honestly. Just blowing it out. As you see, it won't be super straight, but it will be stretched out so that we can easily braid it and it will be flatter. So now that her hair is blown all the way out, I'm going to go back and resection it off so that we can start braiding. All right, so the moment we've all been waiting for, let's start braiding. So I'm going to use fairly small braids, not teeny, okay, not teeny, but fairly small. You can say medium. Definitely smaller than I would do a regular density install. She is getting Kima Ocean Wave hair. And she likes full hair. So ordinarily, like, her install is never a problem, even though she has super thick hair, because she likes the volume. But for the purpose of this video, we're still going to make this braiding pattern as flat as possible. Now, I won't say as flat as possible, because there's definitely another aspect that you could use to flatten out the hair, and I will show you that in a couple of, so I don't know why I can talk today, in a couple of braids. I will show you one thing that you can do if you're trying to get the install super, super, super flat, or you're working with someone who has hair thicker than my client here, but I don't see it because her hair is just super, super thick. But right now I'm just doing a regular cornrow braid. Okay, and I know I braid a little bit differently. I grab it a little differently. I find that this causes less tension and less pulling on the scalp, and people seem to really enjoy this method because I'm not like yanking, or having to pull so tight to get the hair, all together or whatever as I'm braiding it. A lot of people fall asleep while I'm braiding their hair. And then I've been braiding it like this for so long now, I couldn't braid it the other way if I tried. But this way always works better for me anyway. But it's still a regular cornrow. I'm just holding my hands a little different. And I'm braiding this all the way out. Now, if you have pins or something, you can use pins and not braid it all the way out. But for the sake of this video and keeping our work area clear, I'm talking so country today. To keep our work area clear so that you guys can see more clearly, I'm just going ahead and braiding it all the way down. But you'll see later in the video that I'll unbraid the tail of it and join it in the back, but I'll show you that in a little bit. So for now, let's just go through and do a few regular cornrows. As you see, I'm not stressing about the parts. I'm really not. Reason being, I'm doing an illusion install, and with the illusion, it's all about the static, and you don't want a super, super neat part like she's going to be wearing the cornrows. You know what I'm saying? Like, it helps with the illusion more if it's a more natural looking part, like, I just got up and parted my hair to the left. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like they do with, they put edge control in there and then part it, and it's super straight, and that doesn't necessarily benefit when you're doing an illusion crochet install. So now I'm going to show you on this next cornrow about the tip that I wanted to show you. Have you ever done a French braid before? That's what we're going to be doing here. Because, with a French braid, the bulk of the braid goes underneath the base of the hair. Does that make sense? As you see, I'm braiding over instead of under. And this helps to like get the braid to lay flatter. It doesn't work so well if you're doing an install with braids or, twists, Savannah twist, passion twist, something like that. I wouldn't advise it. But if you're doing a, bulk hair kind of install, Kima Ocean Wave or something like that, and you want it to be super, super flat, I would advise doing these braids instead. I'm going to show you the comparison in just a minute. You see how that lays a bit flatter? See how the one underneath is poking out a bit more? So, and you can see from that way too. Like, this one is laying a lot flatter than this other one. And that's because the bulk of the braid is underneath instead of on top of the base. And so that definitely helps if you're dealing with the hair that's thicker than this, or if you want a really, really, really flat install, then try doing that method. It's still as secure as you would do a regular braid. You can still join it in the back. all of that. It just lays flatter. But for the sake of this install, I don't want it to lay super flat because again, she likes for her hair to be voluminous. So I'm going to take that one out and I'm going to do it the regular way. It's a fine line because you want it to be voluminous, but you don't want it to be a helmet either. So I make sure that the hair is still like the install is going to be flat, but at the same time, that bulk of the braid at the top, it helps the hair like stand up a little bit more so that it's, still voluminous for her. Let me also add this. When I say voluminous, I don't mean that they want 20 packs of hair on their head so that it looks full. You can manipulate the hair in the braiding pattern and make it look fuller without it being so much weight on their hair. And that's something that I'm going to go over in one of my next few videos when I actually do the install and show you guys some tips and tricks when it comes to crochet. So be on the lookout for that video. It'll hopefully be coming in the next few weeks. So naturally, what you would do right here is take the braids up top and join them into one and carry the cornrow, all the way to the nape. That's what most people do, maybe with a perimeter braid at the back or something like that. That is not ideal when you are dealing with people who have like a lot of hair. That what that does is doubling the braid essentially, right? Doubling the size of the braid. So that's just not what we want to do here. I'm going to show you the different options that you can do. Now, what some people like to do is to do a circular pattern. They'll take the braids up top and start braiding them in a spiral pattern. We're not going to do that here, and I don't like doing that. Let me tell you why. Now, with people who have a normal density to thin density hair, of course, that beehive pattern in the back will be perfectly fine. In some cases, I actually prefer it. But when you're dealing with someone who has thick hair, especially if it's long and thick as well, you have to think that that spiral pattern is just building more hair in it, Have you ever seen a crochet pattern where it almost looks like they have a headband in the top? That's because their hair is so thick and it makes those braids up top super thick. So we don't do that. If you just have to use that spiral pattern in the back, you do not use the braiding hair. Okay, you take those braids up top, pin them out of the way. Then with the hair in the back, you can take it and do a spiral pattern that way, right? And then you would take the legs of the braids at the top and tuck it through the braiding pattern. And when I say tuck, I'll show you what I mean at the end when we tuck these legs here. Because again, in this moment, we're not going to join any braids. We're not going to do that. I'm going to show you how we're going to do it to make sure that it's flat, and it's going to include tucking some of these braids that are coming from the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to put a perimeter braid down there. It's multi-purpose, multi-functional, and you'll see that in a minute. Now, yes, there are several other ways that we can do the back, but I feel like this one is going to be beneficial for her. And also, if you have a client who has longer hair, this would help as well, having that perimeter braid back there. She's not too focused on the illusion in the back, whereas we're still going to make it somewhat of an illusion. If you want a 100% 360 illusion, then this is probably not going to be the best method. But being that she doesn't care too much about the back being completely, 360 illusion, because she's probably not going to wear it in a lot of up styles. She wants to wear it down and want to be able to flip it and stuff like that. So the top and the sides are the most important for her. We can still create an illusion here, but being that her hair is thick and we want, again, to make sure that she doesn't look like she's walking around with a helmet on her head, I'm going to use this method here. Now, if you want other methods, there's so many different ones and so many different braiding patterns that I can break down and show to you guys. But, just let me know if you want that. But for now, we're going to work with this braiding pattern. So we're going to put a perimeter braid at the nape of her hair. So ordinarily, when you're learning a braiding pattern for a crochet install, you would naturally take those two legs, join them together, and then take that one joined leg and braid it into the next cornrow, right? We're not doing that. Everything that we're doing here is intentional. You're not going to add those. You're not going to join those because, again, all that's doing is creating more bulk. So I'm going to braid about three cornrows, right, on the back, and then I'm going to flip to the other side and I'm going to do 3 more. But each braid that I put in the back, there's only one braid coming from the front. I will not be doing any Y braids. I will not be doing any triple braids, nothing like that. Only one braid will be brought from the top and braided into the back. Now, most of the time, you're going to end up with a pattern that looks something like this. And how tempting is it to join all of those, right? How tempted is it to make like 3 braids, by combining 2 of each of those top rows? But we're not going to do that. We're going to find the center, okay, by taking away braids on both sides until you get to the middle piece. And we're going to work from the center and work our way outwards. So I'll show you in just a second. And you're going to find as you start to braid the other ones that, of course, they're going to stop shorter than the other ones, meaning it won't reach the bottom of the nape because, of course, that's how most heads are, there's just a smaller amount of space in the back than it is in the front, but that's fine. If it doesn't braid all the way down, that's absolutely fine. Don't stress it on that at all because we're going to end up tucking the ends anyway, and I will show you that at the end. Now, I know this is a little dark. I would have cut that out, but I feel like we need it. You'll be able to see in just a minute. I do go get a light when I notice on the camera that it looks dark, but I'm tucking the ends, but I'm also taking the ends and tucking them through the perimeter braid at the bottom and then bringing it back up and tucking it into the braiding pattern in the back. It'll make sense when you see it in just a second. So all I'm doing is taking the ends of the braids and I'm tucking them underneath the base of the other braids. This way the hair is still tucked and safe, and you don't have to worry about it poking out or unbraiding or you cutting it when you're trying to cut your hair out. I make sure it's all tucked in there, like underneath the bases of the braids. And this way it doesn't add to the size of the braids, and it's way less bulky than trying to include the tails into the next cornrow. It just increases the size that way. So this way it always works best. And because she's going to want a full install, like she wants it to be voluminous, then I know that I'm going to need all the space that I can get. That's why I took the tail of the braid and I ran it underneath the nape perimeter braid and then ran it back through, so that way there's no space and I can still use those braids to add hair to it. Now at this point, the ones that I have ran down through the base, they're not going to feel secure. They won't feel secure until I start to install the actual crochet hair. And I'm going to show you not using the crochet hair because she's not ready for the install yet. We're only doing this tonight and then we're going to do the install maybe the next day or so. But I'm going to show you just with some braiding hair how I would use the crochet hair to secure the braids. So I'll show you that. And that's the last step. Okay, so that's our braiding pattern, and you see how flat that is, you guys. It's beautiful. So now we're going to use braiding hair, but normally we would use crochet hair. We just want to take a little bit, just a little bit, and then we're going to use like a braid that is like a cornrow that's already connected to the scalp. Does that make sense? Like not a tail. And then we would take a piece of the tail of one of the braids and we will put the needle through both of them. Does that make sense? Like we're anchoring the tail of the braid to a piece of braid that has a base. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So, and then it doesn't matter, like some people secure their hair, some people don't. I choose to. But when it comes down to anchoring the hair, when we're tucking the ends and we're anchoring the tails of it, those at least need to be secured. If you don't secure any of the rest, any of the ones that you are using as a anchor, they need to be secured. And if you're not familiar with securing your knots, I have a video on that. I'll make sure to put it down in the description box below. And at any point during this, when you're tucking the hair, when you're securing the hair, you want to make sure that you communicate with your client and that you're also taking notice, if you're doing this on yourself, that if you feel any tension whatsoever, do not proceed, okay? Make sure you don't feel any tension whatsoever. And the reason being is when you start to add more hair to this, it's going to get tighter. So if you feel tension, the first, few installs of hair is going to get worse, okay? And you don't want it to be too tight because, of course, that leads to other problems, breakage, and all kinds of stuff. And it just being simply uncomfortable and not able to sleep and all that stuff. And you don't want that with your install. Okay, so that's it, you guys. That is the video. And if you want more videos like this, you enjoyed this one, please give it a big thumbs up. Please share it. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and smash that button for me. If you have any questions, make sure to put it down in the comment section and I will answer as soon as possible. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
I've been to myself, just me lately. I don't need a lot. Yeah, 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 yeah. I've been to myself, just me lately. I don't need a lot.